what we would like to do today, but we are not bound to follow and to manage this meeting as it is written there. So you may have heard yesterday that EC3, the organization, is made of an administrative part and technical part. One of the technical committees is this one, and so there are, and yesterday there was a debate at the end of the industry day. Were you present with the three? Okay, so very good. What about you? You weren't there. Okay, so just a very brief introduction regarding her. And what about you, AC? You were present yesterday. Okay, okay. So you are already informed about what about the, I will say, the clues. And I would like to talk mainly for her, for being informed about what is the DSA and what we expect to do in this committee. So first of all, there are some statements. So foster the advancement of knowledge, the sharing of research, and also be some way effective on education and practice, and having a privileged communication channel with the professional associations. Okay, this is what we would like to do. And we are working towards that direction. This year, the thing that we did, but consider that, keep in mind that what we are doing is always in progress, okay? So this year, 3 officers were appointed. I'm one of them, and Shabtai Isaac is there. And then Miguel Casals couldn't come here, but he comes from the university UPC, so Polytechnic University of Barcelona. Shabtai will introduce himself in a minute. Oh, sorry, I already, I think I already introduced myself, okay? And as officers, we had a couple of meetings. This was a very busy year, so the meetings were held at the end of last year, beginning of this year, March, this spring. And we clarified what this technical committee can do. And so we have written a document about the policies, about the procedures that they will follow in order to function. And then there are some goals and plans. We can go through them, I think, later on. The reason why we are proposing this thing, this list of goals, is that we are figuring out the way we may become operational after setting the main objectives of what you would like to do. So what you can read there is the committee works by means of task groups. So it means 1, 2, 3 people, I don't know how many, decide that they want to undertake a path toward an objective. And as far as I remember, the most important things to be done at this stage, and then I will ask Shabtai if he has something to add, are first to clarify what knowledge, what is the knowledge, the current knowledge about this matter. The second is trying to involve more members, and then trying to set up relationships with associations and with professional associations, with institutions, with other organizations representing industry, representing also our customers, representing also the world of education. Okay, so we will go through these goals and plans, but basically this is what we would like to do. Now, I would ask Shabtai if he has something to add, and then I would try to go into more details and some operational comments that we did yesterday. Okay, you were there, but just to refresh them.
Okay, so hi, I'm Shabtai Isaac from Ben-Gurion University in Israel. Something to add, I think I have one main point. It's basically a question, also to you. I haven't been on the board meetings, so maybe I'm simply not understanding the overall goals well enough. For me, the main gap here in this field of data sensing and analysis between the capabilities, technological capabilities, and what is actually implemented in practice by the industry. Okay. So that would be, for me, one of the main things to target in this committee, try and close this gap. And here I was wondering about the issue, actually we discussed it earlier, of professional associations. So this is the main goal of this organization, to attract and be sponsored by those associations. Now, I don't know about other countries, but in Israel, the Contractors Association is much more powerful than the Civil Engineering Association, the Association of Civil Engineers. It has more abilities. It's actually more active in promoting research and development. So I was wondering, why are we targeting specifically professional associations of civil engineers? I know that ASCE in America is very powerful, but I was wondering if that's the same in other countries, and maybe we should broaden our target a bit. So that's one point that I wanted to ask. No, I think that's it. Otherwise,
wait. Okay, we must be as inclusive as possible. so I see a couple of lines, because this is what comes out of the debate that we had during the winter. The first is we may follow an academic track. And so what do we want to do as a university? Research that can be used to publish papers and to suggest or to establish collaborations with the industry, with money providers, okay, so with possible sponsors. On the other side, it is also for our position as in the academy and in the world. We want to establish relationships with professional associations, with organizations in the industry. So my answer to what Shabtai was saying is that professional association should mean any kind of association, including organization institutions that are active in the field of engineering, construction, facility management. This is what I understand.
Sorry, just to clarify a few things. So we don't expect committees to do everything. The board is responsible to get the SPAs to help with the whole organization. The officers have to help the board in getting various countries and their representatives on board, but that is not the main function of the committee. The main function of the committee is technical. That's why it's called a technical committee. So what technical things do they do? Well, one of the main things, and why EC was founded to begin with the professional associations, is we're trying to help them, the professional associations, in their target. And they're interested in bringing research into policy. A lot of these professional associations have committees of their own. And they do quite a lot of white papers, position papers, and all kinds of other pieces of work. But what I hear from them is that those committees are not very effective. Because generally for any committee to be effective, you have to have a very specific project, challenge, and deadline, so that people can focus their attention on something and make it happen. When we tried to get the professional associations on board, they asked us, why are you guys going to be better? Why are your committees going to be more effective than the committees we already have? And our answer is because we're going to pay people. And so the idea is that the professional associations are giving us a certain amount of money every year, and that money is reserved for committees like DSA to come up with a proposal. We want to write a position paper in this area, for example. Then we take that back to the SPAs. If they approve it, we give you that money and a deadline and ask you to do that as a project. Okay, and then you have a very focused piece of work to do. What could that piece of work be? Well, there's an example. This is one of those white papers I did as part of the Data Sensing and Analysis Committee of ASE in the US. Right? So we've set up EC3 as the European counterpart of the American side. And as you can see, this is a paper with many authors. Well, they were all the people from the committee engaged actively into getting that piece of work done. Same thing in that case. ASE gave us a little bit of money. It wasn't much, with like $4,000. But it was enough to pay a student to work for a summer, to collect data and do all the literature review and come up with something basic. And then the faculty members on top of that sat together and formulated that into a report. That report was very successful, and it ended up becoming a journal paper. So what you see here is the journal paper in the end. Again, that's just one example, but I'm mentioning this example because this could be a very good example of what this DSA, the European DSA, does as well. So, like I said, I'm hoping the officers in particular, and perhaps even the members, if you're interested, help us get more professional associations on board. But that's not your main job. Your main job is the technical part. And we hope, Alessandro, that you can put together some efforts like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I'm not sure. What do you mean by professional associations? That's just one thing.
Equivalents to ASE in the US, American Society of Civil Engineers. So that would be the Institution of Civil Engineers in the UK, who are already on board. The same one we have already on board Turkey, we have already on board Israel, and we're hoping to bring on board Italy, and we're hoping to bring on board, and so on and so on.
Okay, so first of all, what I would do now is, okay, we must debate on these matters, but first of all, here we have 4 new people, okay? We are talking about data sensing and analysis. In my opinion, you should tell us, Shabtai, myself, Ioannis, what your interest is, if you already have done work, if you're planning to do work in the future. What's your position, what's your vision, what's your expectation? Okay, so just to know one another and then to go ahead and be more operational. Thank you.
Perfect. My name is Lisa Lenz. I'm from the Technical University of Dortmund in Germany. I'm a PhD student since September 2016, and I'm already finished my PhD, just have to defend it in autumn, so yeah, it's the last steps. I worked in a PhD group. It's a research project group from the German Council, and the research training groups deals with adaptation intelligence on factories in a dynamic and complex environment. So that means we are 11 interdisciplinary PhD students, from informatics to sociologists, the lecturer of software engineering. Yeah, 11. Everyone writes his own PhD, but the manager is from software engineering, who is also my supervisor from my PhD. So I did a lot of. Yeah.
Sorry, if I just to know as much as possible. And those 11 different skills are applied fields, or is it both theoretical part regarding computer engineering plus applied fields? How did they choose?
Both. I can say both. I'm from the civil engineering point of view, and my perspective is construction management, so not the normal or computer IT-based things, so construction management. But I use the BIM method to let's say, like we are dealing with adaptation intelligence. What does Industry 4.0 do to facilities, to factory facilities, and how can we deal or support with BIM models, the fast and efficient adaptation process. And for that, I chose to take the BIM method as a base for a decision support system. Maybe, for example, you have to put in a new machine that affects the factory building in another way, like a robot or something like that, where you have dynamic loads on the floor slab or something like that, and you need electric supply and so on. And you have to evaluate if the building is flexible enough from one point of view, from the space thing. Do I have enough space? How many machines can I insert, and so on, and also from the quality side, like automatic rules. I use Solibri. We just using from the construction management point of view, software things that are available. We are not programming things like that, but we're dealing with a lot of data. You can imagine, like we do have two cooperation partners. This is Joyson and Siemens, and we are put 3 factory buildings as in a BIM model and evaluated in different scenarios the data that we get. The special thing is maybe that we insert the production data into the building data and then evaluate something like that, and go in a fourth session into cost and time for construction management things. Yeah, that's the thing I'm doing there. Yeah.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for the introduction and the clarification. Yeah, my name is Kai Weist. I'm from the TU Dortmund, so Technical University of Dortmund also. And I'm at the same research training group as Lisa mentioned. I'm in the group since 1 month, and it's all something new for me, but I was working 2.5 years as a student worker for Lisa, so I know the building information modeling. I know which problems we are facing, so I know the things we have to face with, and I will use Lisa's dissertations and will look at a fabrication site. So I will try to check which problems and adaptation in a factory brings to the whole site of the factory. So we have many factories on our site, and we have a supply chain and something like this, and what does it affect if we have an adaptation in our factory, not just in the factory, but just what is the problem with our supply chain, what can change or what has to change if we change some technologies in the factory, and how does it affect our costs and our schedules. And another approach we have is to get out of a building model. So we have a building model and we connect our schedules with it. We try to get these schedules in an automatic way by using technologies of the IT specialists we are working with in the training group. So the interdisciplinary part is really big in the training group, and we try to participate from that for our training research field of the construction management. Okay, so I'm in a wide way at the moment, and I have to clarify this. So okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Athanasios Hasiakos. I think that it sounds very Greek to you, but this is the name. I'm from the University of Patras in Western Greece. I'm in the Civil Engineering Department. I cover the whole spectrum of construction management and a little bit from transportation. I haven't been involved so much in this data sensing topic. I would like to be involved more from the point of the publications committee of this organization, in which I am the chair, and I have two more colleagues in this committee. And I would like to say more generally, not specifically for this topic, that we need to have a collaboration among all of us, not only the committee but other people too, not only in setting some priorities and some special topics, but also on the way that this can go further and reach the SPAs properly, so that they feel that they get something important. Of course, this is going to take some time and some effort, because it's difficult to convince people about the work that you do. But I guess with some hard work and some time for that, we can have a good result. So I will not say more about the topic itself. I rather hear from you some ideas, but have in mind that it's not only ideas, it's not only the work, but also how you present the work, so this is beneficial and attractive to the final customers.
Hello, my name is Burcu. I'm from Turkey. So I live in Ankara at Hacettepe University. It's a new university. My background is from Middle East Technical University. I did my PhD in US, Northeastern University, and my topic was laser-based object detection and surface damage detection. So it's very related with what you are planning to do, I suppose. So my research varies, starting from really small component research, such as like cold form steel members. We're trying to understand how their behavior change if they have some geometric imperfection on it. So then it varies how that affects the system behavior. And we're looking at bridges, more large structural examples. We're looking at bridges, trying to find out what are the defects on it. We're trying to classify it automatically. So that's one part of it. And the most, I think the broader sense that we're doing is after a post-earthquake or post-hazard reconnaissance, and how we can actually go from there. It's like, so like one project that we're doing will be a good example. So like after an earthquake, we'll try to electrify the important structures by collecting data from the points that we have prior information from. So there's one project going on. So what I've been doing varies from really component-based to the whole area-based research. So I'm hoping to contribute in any part of it, but it's like I've been doing laser-based sensing, image sensing, trying to do image processing, data learning. So it's like in that sense. But.
Just to inform you, these are just some ideas. It's not there is no constraints about what we decide for regarding our activities, our tasks. But yesterday during the debate, these are some clues that I think may be relevant to what we do. Again, it's not a guideline. It's not constraining. It's just some of the comments. And you were there, so maybe you remember something more. I don't know. So, if I have to summarize it, I would say if we are the channel for spreading these best practices and lessons learned from several experiences that are made over the time in several countries, then we may become important for those who want to guide their investments, to make decisions about what kind of market they want to break into. And also, if we write important documents and we bring our ideas in conferences or also using other kinds of media, then our opinions will be important, will affect the way policymakers think and the way people approach also, I don't know if politicians is too much, but let's say countries can approach some kind of topics. And also the last one is about we may help professional associations, their members, industrial partners, test technologies or prototypes that might be developed through a cooperation, by means of cooperations. So these are some of the ideas that were said yesterday during the meeting. The meeting involved representatives from the industry and from several associations. And this was a debate that was held after all, okay, at the end of the afternoon, in the middle of the afternoon. So now, I would say, let's talk about our ideas, what we think we can do, we can realistically do, because we were 3, we might be 7, plus 4. Okay, so, and this process may continue because we have our colleagues in our country, so we are in touch with other colleagues in the same field, so we may invite additional people. As Johannes said, once our objectives are clear, because if you state the objective first and then invite people to work on something that is very specific, that person is able to answer positively or negatively. But if you invite, basing your invitation on something confusing, there will be no answer at all. This is what. So let's talk about what we can realistically do. Okay. Our first idea was to start as soon as possible, I remember, with the draft of a white paper, for example, for several reasons. The first, because it clarifies the field we work in. The second is because we are in the academic world, so we can reuse that material as soon as it's necessary. In order to write more papers, to propose collaborations, to participate, to submit a call, I don't know. It means we may have a clear knowledge of the state of the art, and also we may have a first document for doing this. In the meantime, we should think of, if we want to write something that covers all the fields of SDA, we may think who are the people, who are the colleagues that may be involved in this writing, because they are experts in fields that we cannot cover ourselves, or that we are not the best person to cover given our expertise. Okay, so this might be one of the first steps. Okay, but I would like to first to have your opinion on this. Shotai, would you like to say something before we ask them? Okay, we have draft. There was a first draft. Okay, that's too small. Okay, let's see, second column in the middle, topics. For each of these aspects, the survey will focus on 3 main topics. So this was a first step then to make, to categorize this kind of technology in pre-construction, serving, construction execution. So those that can support the phase of pre-construction serving, support the phase of construction execution management, you know a lot about that, or building operation facility management. There were many, a number of presentations during these sessions about the topic. So this was the first idea on how to, but before getting there, we need to introduce the topic and to say why and fulfill all the different paragraphs looking at different aspects. To be honest, the author of this document is Shabtai. So let's say the final author, because we debated with you and Miguel during a meeting. Our meetings are always held online, so we have Skype meetings where we can debate. So from this point of view, this is feasible. And yes, our idea was this one because this might help us involve more colleagues towards specific objectives, and the colleagues may be selected based on our needs.
No, really, I think there's a really good selection and variety of experts here, and it would be great if you would be willing to help and contribute to this if you're interested.
So what will be the stage? The first stage will be to have the report. The second will be to transform it into.
Yes, this is going to be a journal paper, so. We have. Really? You need glasses. Ah, okay. It's not that bad. Why am I saying this in the microphone?
It's not accepting at all. So I don't know about what your research, but one of the main topics in construction management is about efficiency increase, improvement. Okay, so this is the first idea that comes out.
Sorry. No, I was just saying it doesn't have necessarily to be limited to efficiency. For example, if you're talking about extreme events, emergency situations, robustness, that's also something that can be included.
I was thinking maybe like the third topic. It's like it's building operation, and I don't know, it's on the other side, like the topics part. So maybe it can be extended to include the post-event effects and sort of trying to detect what's on the structure and how it's actually affecting the structural behavior. So maybe that can be included. So in terms of it will go with the management, and then it will switch to structural behavior of the entity that we're looking at. Maybe that could be added, I suppose.
So I have another microphone here. Only for me, sorry, no one else.
The big one is mine.
So I think that's a good starting point, just to help you. It would be good to do, first of all, some scoping. So first of all, are you looking at the whole life cycle? Are you looking at design or construction or operation maintenance or a combination? So that's one important decision. You can say, for example, if this is just construction. That could be one possible decision, right? So one parameter to decide. The second parameter is, are we looking at every kind of asset? Industrial construction, housing, ports, dams, you name it, or are we picking a specific subset of facilities? So that's another important decision to make, and I think you should. Because you need some scoping to make the project feasible. You're still a small team, you can't do everything. The next thing is, what kind of KPIs are you looking at? You mentioned this already. Is it productivity and something else? Are you going to be looking at carbon, sustainability, waste in construction, safety, quality, all the other KPIs? So this is a multidimensional problem. So far, I'm just reading the axis, the values on the axis. And you have to put some limits on each axis, because based on that, then you have to make decisions. Another axis, technologies. Every kind of technology, there's many kinds of technologies. Where do you draw the line? Again, you have to put some limits on that. So I'm hoping someone's keeping notes.
There's another one, which is how advanced these technologies are. Or we're only talking about
maturity scale, how mature the technologies are.
Can be readily applied, or also something that's still in an earlier stage of development.
Okay, so having considered then all of that, there are established ways to deliver a study of this nature, because you have two things here. You have the challenge, which is what hasn't worked, what hasn't been achieved yet. And on the other end, you have the opportunities. But this technology exists, but that technology exists. And try to play a matchmaking game to say, here's what we can do so far, here's what we cannot do so far based on the technology that's out there. This is a very good scoping exercise to say, researchers, everyone here, please focus your efforts in solving this, and that gap, making those gaps to be very clear. So maybe some good conversations, just to get things started, is define your axis first. Start with the first one. The whole life cycle, just design, just construction, just operation. Go ahead.
I will interview people, for example, you have the microphone, she's very close.
Oh, you want
okay.
me to hand it over?
Well, you first. So
Me first?
Yeah, what's your interest?
I think that, well, actually, I think it depends on who the contributors will be. And we actually have here a good variety of experts in all those stages. So right now, we don't necessarily have to limit ourselves.
Are you sure? I see a lot of construction people here.
No, post-event. Oh, but a good one. And I think it's, probably less focusing on design. And I think that maybe we should be focusing on construction. But also, I mean, I think you're also talking about facility management. So I think that in terms of that, we can start from, let's say, construction planning and onwards.
So how about construction and maintenance?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Someone write it down, please. Second thing, KPIs.
Continue? Okay, so we wrote down here productivity and efficiency. Meanwhile, we have heard resilience, which I think is a KPI.
Quality, safety,
Yeah, no, there are many. You mentioned
waste,
energy,
carbon.
sustainability. Yeah. So I think that for me, productivity and efficiency is a central one. But if anyone here thinks we should add others, then speak out.
I think with the scope that we just defined, with the construction and the management, right? So like I think maintenance, it's like so the efficiency will be the key thing to do. Like I think resilience will be a little bit out of scope in that sense. So I think.
And how about sustainability, which is usually taken into account when you talk about maintenance?
If we're talking about facility management, we have to put it into the account as well because of the actual situations. But if we maybe go to the state of the art, we can also talk about the comparison to Industry 4.0, which things are there applied, and maybe it can be work with my research topic as well, because yeah.
Assuming that we are this seven.
Yeah.
Assuming that you are these 7 people, who would be involved in the operation maintenance phase and who would be involved in the construction phase? For example, I work more in the construction phase. Okay, so that. I work on both. Okay, so.
I work in the operation phase.
Both.
Neither.
You can do a show of hands, that's faster.
Operation, okay. Operation would be, more so we have 2 just in operation and 3, okay, 1 in construction, 2 operation.
Alessandro, why don't you come and sit here and use this microphone? There you go.
Okay, no problem. So I will be the only one that focuses on construction, 2 of you in operation, 2 of us, sorry, and the other 3 in both stages. Okay, so it's quite balanced. Yeah. Okay, let's sum up with the KPIs. They were we agreed. Sorry, did you took notes or do we have?
Productivity, efficiency, and sustainability.
Productivity.
It's better to look at it as cost, time, safety, quality, sustainability or waste or carbon, how you measure it.
Quantifying them.
Yes.
Okay.
What's your other axis?
The another axis was the asset, the type of asset.
Are you doing them all the KPIs? I mean, you can, but it's your choice.
I think we can start by making some general survey and then narrowing down. That would be my approach, actually.
So to be determined.
Yes.
Okay.
But technologies is actually an important part, and that I think should be maybe discussed.
We'll get to that, but I think the next important one is type of asset.
Yeah, type of asset.
Housing, industrial construction, roads, bridges, tunnels, dams.
Okay, so first of all, it's infrastructure buildings.
Yeah, choose one.
I choose buildings.
Same with me. Is anyone working with infrastructures? You're the odd one out. Are you comfortable with me?
Not that much. Mostly with infrastructure, highways, bridges, a bit of finance.
Also doing industrial buildings, but in another research project we also have bridges. So yeah, we do have bridges.
So we can target both for now, or maybe.
Microphone. We are recording this. It's going to look weird.
I think, yeah, sorry, it's very difficult to record this. I think that we can consider splitting it into 2 surveys, one which would target more building industry, one the infrastructure industry, because usually they're quite different, but that's just a thought. There are some common areas, so.
What do you guys think? It's your decision.
I've got a question. When we talk about buildings, do we talk about all of buildings, all types of buildings, or do we talk about living, so buildings for living or industrial buildings? I think it's okay if we take the topic buildings and separate it.
We have housing,
yeah.
we have building construction, which is schools, hospitals, universities, government, and so on. And then we have industrial construction.
Yeah.
So which one? It's different markets.
That's my question. If we separate it and focus on one of them, I would be familiar with taking it as a topic and yeah, talk about all of them. So don't separate, because yeah, of course we have many different things in different types of buildings, but if we talk about a window or a wall or something like that, if we do this thing in a factory building or in a housing, it's the same for me. So it's a question if it's necessary to separate or not to separate. It's a question for all. I think it's okay if we take them all into buildings.
I agree.
So I'm more of a specific looking kind of person, I suppose. Like I was thinking, like, if we are looking at the side of the construction, maybe the buildings will be a lot better in that sense. But if we're doing the maintenance and the management stuff, so like the facilities, like the infrastructure will be a better topic as far as I think. So, and also, like, I would prefer to do one type of structure rather than having an extensive survey for all structures, because like it will be a lot less comprehensive, I agree, but it will be a lot more useful for the parties that are interested, right? So like I'm just thinking, like, when you have many infrastructure types or buildings, then it's very broad, and we won't be able to give the details as much as we would like to. So I would rather choose a very specific topic and then continue accordingly with it.
Okay, so I see here two options. One is like general survey, and one is a case study.
Yeah,
Take a hospital and, I don't know, highway, and then demonstrate what you could do in that specific case.
What if we, just to be, to have some results as soon as possible, if we first make a document stating these categories, and then we start with one of them. So this means that we have soon one document where we make the road picture, and we number, we make a list of all the specific documents that will be done in the future, okay? So now we have make categories. So we have divided into the several axes, types of buildings, construction phase.
I think what Alessandro is trying to say is you do one first, and if it works, then you repeat the whole thing for another.
No. What I'm saying is there must be a master document that is an introduction, that is the first document about what we're discussing right now. That means we have a list of all the categories that might be analyzed. And then we state what is the first one, for a couple of reasons. The first is because this would oblige us to have a first document soon, okay, with the overall picture. The second is because once it's clear what we want to do, 3, 4 documents, I don't know how many technical documents, we can start looking for more members to jump in and to work on the rest of the documents. Okay, it's a bit more complex than working just on one, but it's a matter of writing 4 or 5 pages with this list of categories, and also giving the reason why we have started with just one first specific, because...
So which one are you starting with?
Okay, this is the next topic. I don't know if what I'm suggesting is feasible or not, if it's useful or not. Okay, what do you think?
By documents, you mean... So specific documents are a specific building?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
One for buildings, one for bridges, one for...
Yeah, okay.
Or for one type of buildings.
I like the idea very much to focus...
Okay.
Yeah, I like the idea very much to focus on a case study, because then you can really do a thorough analysis, show all different aspects, all the relevant technologies, because you're quite limited once you talk about a specific building. So, I think
So which one?
idea. I like hospitals, but maybe like a factory more. We can have a hospital and a factory. And a bridge?
A factor or a bridge is better for me rather than building.
Okay, we have a bridge, a hospital, and a factory, or
Yeah.
maybe just a bridge and a factory. Okay.
So I'll cast a deciding vote for you, even though I'm not part. My advice is go for bridges because it's simpler. And
Just
so,
bridge?
as a starting point,
I don't know anything about bridges.
do the simple one first, and then you can do the more complex assets.
Okay. But then, seriously, I don't know much about infrastructure. So we would be using only part of our workforce here. So we can also consider a facility. Factories are actually very complex, so are hospitals. So we can consider, yeah, something that's simpler to start with. My question would be, are we talking about a real world case study or a synthetic one, fictional one?
What kind of case study are you referring to? I'm not sure I understand. This is not about a case study on a one particular asset.
No, there is.
This is about all bridges,
Yeah, so
or
you have
all
a-
buildings, or all something.
Yeah, you have a bridge project. But still, don't you want to give it form? Like, no, not a concrete example?
No?
I don't believe that we can. In terms of like, in that case, we will have to choose one specific item from each axis, right? So if we do that, then we can come up with a case study like the ones that you have been talking about. But if we're not going to be doing that, if we're going to keep one item of one axis and then try to cover the other stuff on the other axis, then we need to be flexible, and it's going to be, I think, a literature review sort of thing.
So specific typology.
I think so.
Okay, just a note. So what's our decision? Do we want to start directly with bridges? And then once the work has started, we start with the second task, as soon as, for example. So what I say is 3 of us are very, have a certain expertise in bridges, okay? So I guess the job for you. Uh-huh. No, I don't think. Are you involved? Do you belong to the committee or?
I'm happy to help, but my main role here is like a caretaker. I'm just facilitating the meeting.
Yeah, okay, you're invited.
I don't want to steal your thunder. You are the committee officers, right?
Right. So at least 3 of us. You have certain level of expertise. So the first step might be that we make the structure, the outline of this document, and once the outline is shared among all of us, it's ready for putting inside the contents, and then you can start with that. And in the meantime, we can start with another document about one of the types of buildings that we deem is the most urgent or interesting, I don't know, okay? So this means that 3 of us will work on one aspect. As far as Miguel is on our side. He works with public buildings, so it means 4 people on the building side and 3 people on the bridge side, okay?
So maybe now I understand what you meant by these documents. It's like a series of booklets, let's say, in which we, one after the other, we target specific types of structures and...
Okay, my opinion is let's do what is more useful to us. So what do you do when we have to write a paper? We first make a draft, and the draft is made while you collect journals, information, and then you write the first version of what you understand. Okay, that first version, in my opinion, may be the first report that may be published on the website of the association, and it is a sort of working paper, and from that first version of document we might rethink the structure and build the outline of a real paper. Okay, so what I suppose is that we have 2 versions. The first a bit longer, a bit more detailed, also with a simple structure to be published on the website. And then once we pick up the journal, we have to rethink the outline of the document and also to elaborate and to revise the contents in order for them to be publishable in a journal.
Alessandro, you're making it complex. Initially, you start with one document. Once you're done, then you start thinking, okay, this is a report, it can be published as a report. If I want to publish it as a technical paper, then what do I have to do to it?
Yeah, but what about the first
Right.
document? What is the place where we publish the document? I suppose on the website, or?
No,
Well-
it is through the professional associations that are affiliated with EC3. That's exactly the venue. That's the whole reason they're giving us money. They want those reports to go on their websites.
This is the first version.
Yeah.
Then you said there will be a second version that is the version of...
If you want,
To be-
if you want, then you can go and publish it elsewhere, as in a shorter format, to a conference,
rearranged
or as a
in the
journal,
format of a journal paper. This is what...
if you want.
Uh-huh.
Another thing when you do these studies, you have to also define the axes that link, or the path, from the use case to the technology. And so the way to link that is, okay, I have a certain asset. For example, if it's bridges, technology assists processes, not products. So the first thing is, what are the processes? I make a process map. From the process map, I understand what are the requirements of each process in terms of data and other kinds of things. From that, I have to derive software requirements. From that, I can derive hardware requirements, right? And then from that, I can start looking at system requirements. So what kind of systems can combine the hardware and the software needed that can then service this particular process, which then helps me solve this particular use case. And so that's the process map you have to think of.
One more thing was mentioned, we didn't discuss, is maturity. For me, that's actually the most interesting aspect, because I feel that in the construction industry, we're a bit trapped right now in this place where certain technologies have great potential, they're not mature enough to be taken up by the industry. The industry doesn't want to take them up until they're more mature, but that needs lots of investment. So I would be actually interested in investigating this aspect, and not just include solutions, technologies that are readily applicable at a wide scale right now, but I'm not sure if you...
I think that'd be great, actually. I very much agree with Shabtai. A lot of the problems we have as a research community, and this is with all communities, so that we are not an exception, we try to rush to claim victory. Okay, here I solved the problem by doing X and Y. But actually, I didn't really solve the problem. I did something, and I went a little bit that way, but actually there's quite a lot more to go until people can actually use it. So capturing the maturity element as you're doing this is really good, because it can clearly identify, yes, we've had, for example, augmented reality for 60 years, but it still doesn't work, because it's only gone up to this point, and it's still missing this, and that element.
And maybe find some kind of a roadmap, how you can get out of that trap, what is required, when has it worked, when has it failed.
And you do need to capture both, because the researchers are interested in what didn't work, so they can do more research on that. But the practitioners are interested in what actually worked, because they can go and use that.
Yeah.
So maybe we can come up with some, I don't know, key steps sort of in the process. So we can say that, okay, up until this point, per se, it's not usable by the industry, right? And then we'll give specific ratings to those categories, I don't know. And then maybe, you know, like one method will be 10 in terms of like it's already used in the industry, so maybe we can divide it in terms of that in that sense.
Okay, so you have the technology readiness level. Yeah. We could use that, or maybe if it's not sufficient, then think how we can enrich that.
Once that the situation is clear, right now, my ideas are clearer than they were 5 minutes ago. Okay, so what I understand now is we have a subgroup that is fond of bridges. Okay, so it means you already, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, so you are aware of the problems about bridges more than what we are. But some of the technologies that we see as suitable for dealing with some problems with buildings will be reusable in the with bridges, reusable in the case of buildings. So also, in order to be more effective, what do you think if we start all with bridges? Okay, we follow you about the use cases, and then we all work, are involved in the technology. And then once that paper is done, we start with the second one using the same approach, okay? Because if we split into subgroups, we risk to be very slow. Instead, once that it's clear, I don't know, you are the most important opponent. Yeah. What I'm saying, if they teach us what is important for bridges, and they do a category of problems or use cases, once we have that, then we can all contribute to find solutions to the problems that they tackle with. Okay, even reasoning in a similar way with what you're doing in the case of buildings. So this is just an idea to be more effective and get straight to the point. Okay, what do you think? You are the most...
I'm a good student. I don't mind learning about bridges. Just a question. I noticed there are quite a few people at this conference who work on bridges. Do we want to invite everyone, or are we a happy small group and don't want any others? Yes, we do want to invite everyone. Okay.
I think that if you invite everyone, and especially if they all come back to you, it's going to be a very difficult group to manage.
I said small happy group.
Like the example I showed you, I think maybe up to a group of 6 to 7 is manageable. Beyond that, you can be sure that some members of the group will not really be able to contribute as effectively.
6 or 7. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I should have said 6.
Exactly.
If you do have more people, then you might consider splitting the group and having half of it do bridges and the other half doing something else, for example.
I think this is nice, and I'm happy with this. So now we have to define action points.
Okay, so what is the next step? Okay, what do you do tomorrow? This is the way we work is we organize meetings. At every meeting there must be one step forward.
Alessandro, you might want to explain how the committee works, like when you have meetings, members, membership, and so on.
First of all, first of all, the membership. Now it's clear what we might do, and there are a couple of positions. So anyone who wants to join EC3 activities is free to join, simply by asking to become a member of one of the committees. So what are the reasons? What is the motivation? So it's very straightforward. So the first thing that I have to do is I must send you all the policies and procedure of EC3 so that you are able to locate what is the clause about that, and then simply asking that you want to become a member in order to contribute to these specific committees. This is about membership. Besides that, there is the officer position that is another level, a bit more different, because officers are in charge of doing the executive part. So being sure that the committee is working, and so there is the position of secretary, the position of chair, and of vice chair. Okay, each officer being asked to do part of the job. In my opinion, the easiest way now is let's do this request of becoming a member. So if you give me or Shoptai, I don't know, or both, your contacts, I will send you policies and procedures and tell you what is the clause you have to refer in order to become a member. You will be listed on the website with your name, your affiliation, and then we will start having meetings and agreeing on, we will agree on every step and on the frequency of our meetings. Okay?
I'm a very bad secretary. I
Yeah.
don't have a pen.
My God. Yeah, but they have business cards. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's much better. Good.
Why do you need business cards? Why do you think you have this? Use it.
What? Oh, I have to scan them? No, that's complicated.
With your phone, take a picture with your QR scanner.
Enough. I really like
There is no limit on members, Alessandro, only for officers. Members can be whoever wants to be a member. Yeah.
So what we have to, Shoptai and I will send you this document about how to become a member of the committee, and then this will be communicated to the governance board, I suppose with short motivation, okay? That is what we have said today, what kind of your work and contribution you would like to offer. And once this is done, that is a matter of a few days, then we might start to work on this matter, okay?
And you must also create a website that explains what you... Well, you can add it on the EC3 website,
okay.
make a page,
Yeah. Make a page,
right?
Yeah.
With what you're doing.
So you're all officially members of the committee. Congratulations.
Yeah, but we
cannot resign. We didn't tell you.
Yeah, what's the exit policy? Good question.
all right.
You should have an Article 50, like a 2-year thing, like Brexit, you know?
Okay. So yeah, very productive, and thanks for joining.
So what exactly are your action items?
I have to write those. No, we want to write.
So we will, yeah. So first is we send them policies and procedures. They reply with their request, simple request with motivation for joining. At that time, we have to inform the governance board about your involvement, and then what you were saying. Now,
And then we write a draft of the report, of its structure, and of the methodology.
and we start with the
We will discuss, who will start. Yeah, because Jan wants bridges.
And you will also report milestones and deadlines and when we should expect the first draft?
Methodology includes all that. Yanis, you said that basically would go to the professional associations. Is there any specific format you're expecting? Have you promised anything, or is it was it very general? I mean, just so that we
You mean for
understand.
making proposals?
I don't know, is this a proposal that we submit to them? What is the process?
Yeah, very good question. To be discussed in the board meeting tomorrow.
Okay, good.
And also the board meeting is open to anybody, correct?
Yep.
The board meeting is open. Okay, so if you want to join, I don't know, there are also interesting incentive sessions in the meantime, so you'll see what. Okay, so, sorry, anyone to be added? Okay, yeah, I suppose that we have agreed on this, and we are all very glad, okay, including those who were already present in the meeting and the incoming ones. Thank you for your presence, and I think we'll have a great collaboration together. Okay, the ideas are quite clear. So, okay, very good.